First at 9 this Tuesday, the 17th of February 2026. Resilient recovery. IMF Managing Director Dr. Kristalina Georgieva assessed Cyclone Ditwa damage. Joining an exclusive interview at Hyde Park, the IMF chief praises government's disaster response and urges Sri Lanka to maintain reform momentum during rebuilding.
Sri Lanka is the first country in Asia in which the government asked us to do a governance assessment so we can help in this fight to eliminate corruption.
Tensions at court. Third suspect arrested in connection with Akuregoda double murder. Two suspects arrested yesterday to be detained for 48 hours for questioning. Lawyers refused to represent suspects in court. Panic over nothing. Akuregoda double murder, an isolated incident, no threat to national security, claims the Minister of Public Security. Abolishing privileges. Parliamentary pensions repeal bill passed in Parliament without amendments.
Kalin baby so rupial 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on Derana News Channel, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. I'm Derana, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. We begin with your top story. Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Dr. Kristalina Georgieva, highlights the importance of staying the course of the reform program to ensure strong and durable growth that delivers prosperity for all of Sri Lanka. She made these remarks during discussions held with President Anura Dissanayake this morning. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, David Lammy, who also arrived in Sri Lanka, held discussions with the President, Prime Minister and Foreign Minister.
A special delegation led by Dr. Kristalina Georgieva, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday afternoon. This morning, Georgieva and her delegation travelled to the Gampol area to personally assess the devastation caused by Cyclone Ditwa and evaluate its broader impact. As part of the visit, she joined a tour of inspection of Mavathura village of the Udapalata Divisional Secretariat. During her interactions with the affected residents, the IMF Managing Director conveyed heartfelt condolences and solidarity.
This is a beautiful country with beautiful, strong people.
Everything we need. Can you help me? Because so thanks.
You can know that we are with you.
This morning, the IMF Managing Director held discussions with President Anura Dissanayake. During the meeting, the IMF chief stressed the importance of staying the course of the reforms program to ensure strong and durable growth that delivers prosperity for all Sri Lankans. In another diplomatic visit, Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom David Lammy arrived in Sri Lanka this morning on a one-day official visit. He was received at Bandaranaike International Airport by Minister of Science and Technology Professor Krishanta Besena. The Deputy Prime Minister held bilateral discussions with President Anura Dissanayake, Prime Minister Dr. Hari Amarasuriya and Foreign Minister Vijitha Herath. Deputy Prime Minister Lammy also met opposition leader Sajith Premadasa. Discussions focused on trade reforms, legislative matters and recovery efforts following Cyclone Ditwa. Meanwhile, President Anura Dissanayake departed for India this evening. The President is scheduled to attend the AI Impact Summit 2026 at the invitation of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Central Finance
Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Dr. Kristalina Georgieva, joined Indivarya Muatta for an interview at Hyde Park, aired on Derana. The IMF Managing Director is in Sri Lanka on her first official visit to the country at a critical juncture of the Sri Lankan economy's path to recovery after severe blows on the economy, be it financial, external, terrorism-related or even climate-related, after the most recent shock from Cyclone Ditwa. As Sri Lanka continues the IMF-supported reform program, global uncertainty posing risks on not just Sri Lanka but other smaller economies, we speak with Dr. Georgieva about progress made, risks ahead and what this moment means for the country's future.
Your first visit to Sri Lanka. I want to know what this represents symbolically and both practically in terms of the journey ahead in our recovery. What would you highlight as the most important and significant gains made since the program began?
The country has made such a tremendous progress since the days when the economy was close to collapse. And congratulate the government and the people of Sri Lanka for the progress you have made, and a chance for me to witness the strength of the Sri Lanka people, the resilience you demonstrate, and the unity you so clearly achieve in this moment of tremendous challenge for the country.
I understand that you visited the Ditwa affected areas and residents.
I had a chance to meet with the community affected by Ditwa and see that people remain strong, and yet the horror of what has happened is upon them. You have wonderful people. They come together at a moment of tremendous pain, and they think of the future. We at the IMF were able to provide emergency financing. Over $200 million came very timely.
I think Sri Lanka has had severe blows to the economy in the last 10 years. What is your message, or what has been your message as you meet political leaders and authorities as Sri Lanka remains resilient through these shocks?
Indeed, Sri Lanka has had quite the challenges over the last decade. It has Now we have a tremendous opportunity for the country. There is a government that is trusted by the people and is doing their part to gain that trust. I want to say from our experience, in a short time, Sri Lanka regained macroeconomic and financial stability. Inflation was 70%, now it is down to 2%. Growth was negative, now we have about 5% growth. And very important, the view of the government is that there has to be trust in civil service, and that means corruption has to be eliminated. Sri Lanka is the first country in Asia in which the government asks us to do a governance assessment so we can help in this fight to eliminate corruption.
Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Lands and Irrigation, K.D. Lalkantha, warned that certain extremist groups are looking for opportunities to resurface. He emphasized that such groups must be firmly confronted and the activities decisively curtailed. With that, here's a look at more of the latest developments unfolding in the political arena.
Racism still persists in our country. Certain extremists and racist groups are searching for opportunities to resurface. When that happens, we must act firmly and decisively to ensure they are put down before they can cause harm. There are always individuals waiting for a chance to sow division and stir up trouble, and we must not allow that to happen. We saw the Prime Minister making a statement in Manila questioning in whose interest the civil war in Sri Lanka was fought. We would like to ask whether she is aware of when the war actually ended. She stated the media that the war ended in 2011. Today it is said that the North and East receive everything without discrimination. However, there are also statements suggesting that the people of the South waged war to incite racism. We strongly believe such remarks only deepen division. We respectfully urge the Prime Minister not to encourage narratives that may fuel racism. Our country still carries wounds from the civil war. When a country's history is sensitive and painful, the responsibility of the leadership is to speak in ways that heal. This is not the time to reopen wounds to create further division. Instead, it is time to strengthen understanding, rebuild trust and encourage unity between the North and the South. What our nation needs is the reconciliation and a stronger bond among all its people. According to the Prime Minister, before declaring war, the people must be consulted and a referendum should be held. That is what a referendum means. If that is the case, then why does the Constitution grant the President the authority to make decisions during times of war? When speaking about peace, it is important to remember the efforts of former presidents and previous governments to bring the war to an end. They took significant steps and made great sacrifice to restore peace in Sri Lanka. It is because of those efforts that today we have the freedom to live and work peacefully. While the LTT waged war in the north, other terrorists waged a separate conflict in the south. The government at the time had to consider how to bring an end to the war on both fronts. It was Vijay Veera who first introduced firearms to Prabhakaran. It was Vijay Veera who handed over the weapons, and now this government speaks of democracy. Politicians who lost people's trust are now trying to return to power. They are devising strategies to tarnish the government's reputation and incite division and racism. As of today, the diaspora from all over the world are returning to Sri Lanka. Just recently, I received a call from Jaffna reporting that over 500 people have arrived there for a 2-month stay, bringing their belongings with them. I firmly believe that Sri Lankans will never again grant power to corrupt politicians. The end is approaching for those who came to power by deceiving the people. We urge the government not to engage in such actions in the future, because if so, not only the government but the innocent people of the country too will bear the consequences of an economic collapse. We stand against that. We call on the government to focus on ensuring national progress, as nothing else truly matters.
A third suspect was arrested this afternoon in connection with the fatal shooting of an attorney and his wife in Akuregoda. Meanwhile, 2 brothers who were taken into custody over the incident yesterday were produced before the Kaduwala Magistrates Court today. Police obtained permission to detain the suspects for 48 hours for further interrogation.
An attorney and his wife were shot dead in the parking area of a supermarket in Thalangama, Akuregoda last Friday afternoon. Upon the instructions of the Inspector General of Police, 12 police teams were deployed to investigate the double murder. Police yesterday arrested 2 brothers from Kottawa suspected of transporting the firearms used in the shooting. The suspects were taken into custody by the Western Province South Range. During interrogation, investigators ascertained that the murder was allegedly orchestrated by underworld figures Modra Nipuna and Malwane Tutu on the instructions of Karandaniya Suddha. The 2 brothers were produced before the Kaduwala Magistrates Court today. Nearly 100 lawyers appeared on behalf of the aggrieved party, including President's Counsel Riyansi Arasukularatna and Bar Association President Rajiv Amarasuriya. In contrast, no legal representative appeared on behalf of the suspects. Police sought court approval to detain the 2 suspects for up to 48 hours for further questioning, which was granted by the magistrate. Meanwhile, other Derana obtained CCTV footage allegedly showing the 2 brothers handing over firearms to the shooters near the supermarket in Akuregoda. The arrestees later left the scene heading toward Hokandara. Police said the brothers also alerted the gunmen when the attorney arrived at the parking lot. The car believed to have been used by the shooters was discovered yesterday, burnt and abandoned in Agaliya Baddegama. Officers from the Government Analysts Department examined the vehicle this morning. In a separate development, 2 police officers attached to the Adurapavidya police station were arrested today over alleged breach of duty in relation to shooting in Jintupitiya, Colombo on Saturday night that left 1 person dead and 4 others injured. The Colombo North Crime Division took the constable and sergeant into custody after investigations revealed they were 10 meters from the scene when the gunman opened fire. The suspects had reportedly approached the officers and fled after the attack. Police said the sergeant was armed with a T-56 rifle and the constable with a revolver, but neither weapon was used to prevent the suspect's escape. 2 other officers were also present inside a police cab parked near the scene, but they were not arrested as they were unarmed at the time. Authorities are probing possible links between the arrested officers and the shooters. The inquiry is being conducted on the instructions of the IGP under the supervision of Senior Superintendent of Police Eric Pereira. The 2 arrestees were subsequently produced before the Halfstorp Magistrates Court. Although police sought the suspects' remand to safeguard the department's reputation and set an example, the court granted bail citing insufficient evidence.
Welcome back to First at 9. Now taking you to more local news. Sri Lanka is scheduled to host the first session of the BIMSTEC Expert Committee on Public Finance and Monetary Policy later this year. Meanwhile, the Cabinet of Ministers approved proposals to secure $450 million in financing from the World Bank to strengthen Sri Lanka's economic reforms and digital transformation.
Cabinet approved a proposal to secure $400 million from the World Bank to support ongoing economic reforms under the Sri Lanka Resilience, Stability and Economic Reform Programme. The financing, which will be provided for a 3-year period from 2026 to 2028, is designed around 2 main pillars: improving governance and strengthening economic oversight. Cabinet also approved a proposal to secure $50 million in World Bank financing for the Sri Lanka Digital Transformation Project. The funding follows the conclusion of discussions between the government and all stakeholders of the World Bank Group. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka is scheduled to host the inaugural session of the BIMSTEC Expert Committee on Public Finance and Monetary Policy this year. The committee was established following a proposal by Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister. Cabinet approval was granted to recommence the JICA-funded project to improve diagnosis and treatment facilities for cardiovascular diseases at 5 major tertiary hospitals. The project, which commenced in 2018 with an estimated cost of 10.639 billion yen, stalled in 2022 due to the economic crisis. The estimated cost of the project has now increased by 2.833 billion yen. The project will recommence under a revised scope, with the deadline extended until the 31st of December 2029. Cabinet approved another decision to increase financial assistance extended to displaced families in the northern and eastern provinces for the construction of permanent residences. Accordingly, all displaced families will receive a 2 million rupee package from 2026. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal to direct the legal draftsman to prepare a bill aimed at legally empowering the Praja Shakti National Poverty Eradication Campaign. The initiative was launched in 2025 as part of the government's policy statement, A Thriving Nation, A Beautiful Life.
The Paddy Marketing Board's announcement of new purchase prices is receiving widespread criticism from farmers across the island. Farmers claim the government does not have their interests at heart but acts in the interests of large-scale mill owners.
The Paddy Marketing Board yesterday announced minimum paddy purchase prices for the 2025-2026 Maha season. Accordingly, a kilogram of Nadu paddy will be purchased at 120 rupees, while a kilogram of Kiri Samba paddy will be purchased at 140 rupees. However, farmers from several regions expressed displeasure at the newly introduced prices as well as existing purchase mechanisms.
The price of Nadu paddy is unchanged. A kilogram of Samba is priced at 280 rupees. A kilogram of Kiri Samba is 360 rupees. If the Agriculture Minister and the officials who announced the prices yesterday visit the market and inquire about prices, they would have to face utter embarrassment. The price of Samba paddy has been increased by 5 rupees. However, a majority of farmers have cultivated Nadu paddy. They have acted in the interest of mill owners this time as well.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා රජරටන ලාල්කාන්ත ඇමතිතුමා රජරටන වසන්ත සමරසිංහ ඇමතිතුමා රජරටන ඇයි දැන් මේ ගොවියගේ දුක එතුමාලට නොදැනෙන්නේ සමහර ගබඩා
Some paddy storage facilities have reached capacity due to previous season's harvest. The process of emptying these storage facilities has commenced. They should not have waited until 2 weeks into harvesting to start this process. Ideally, they should have planned this at least a month before. When assuming office, this government promised farmers fair prices. They promised farmers will be able to enjoy a beautiful life in a thriving nation. A kilogram of wet paddy is 70 rupees. How can they build a thriving nation where farmers are facing inconveniences? They do not walk the talk as promised. Since the previous season, we have been urging the government not to introduce a price of 120 rupees for Nadu paddy. We continuously requested prices ranging from 140 to 150 rupees. If not, farmers will never earn a profit. They are betraying 22 million citizens in order to satisfy 3 or 4 large-scale mill owners. Though the price of Nadu paddy has been fixed at 120 rupees, it is being purchased at 85 to 90 rupees. This is nothing but an illicit deal between the government and the large-scale mill owners.
The Parliamentary Pensions Repeal Bill was passed in Parliament today without amendment. Meanwhile, Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Ananda Vijaypala assures that the Akurekoda double murder was an isolated incident and does not pose any threat to the country's national security.
Does the government accept the fact that critical concerns have been raised on national security in the wake of the murder of an attorney and his wife at a high security zone? In the immediately aftermath of the tragic murder, the government claimed that it was carried out by the underworld. What is the government trying to imply through such statements?
අදාළ වෙඩි තැබීම සිදු උපදේශයේ අධ්‍යාරක්ෂක කලාපයක් නොවන බව අවධාරණය කරන්න අවශ්‍යයි.
I must reiterate that the shooting did not occur within a high security zone. This is indeed an isolated incident and posed no threat to the country's national security. This incident cannot be considered a threat to the country's rule of law. We have taken all necessary steps to combat sporadic violence. This situation does not pose a threat to national security or to the safety of other attorneys. Neither the government nor the Sri Lanka police made any statement immediately after the incident alleging that the crime was carried out by the underworld. It must also point out that the attorney was being investigated before his murder. A statement had already been recorded from the attorney. Quite apart from the ongoing probe into the attorney, we have also taken all required steps to continue investigating his murder.
මේ ඝාතනය සම්බන්ධයෙන් පුළුල් විමර්ශනයක් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය සියලු පියවර අරන් තියෙනවා.
මම පුදුම වෙනවා මේ එතුමා කියනවා
I'm surprised to know that the scene of the crime is not a high security zone. I believe the Ministry of Defence is located approximately 600 meters away from the crime scene. The military headquarters is also nearby. How can he say that it's not a high security zone? The JVP headquarters is also located nearby. Maybe that is why it is no no longer considered a high security zone.
කලාපෙන් ඉවත් කරාද කියලා.
ඒ කාලේ යම් යම් මධ්‍යාරක්ෂක කලාප
In the past, certain areas were classified high security zones. However, this particular location was not among the locations deemed to be high security zones. Defence forces have confirmed this fact.
පාර්ලිමේන්තු විශ්වාසවටුප් ඉවත් කිරීමේ නැමැති පනත් කෙටුම්පත දෙවැනි වර කියවීම සඳහා
I present the second reading of the bill to abolish pension for the members of parliament. The bill, when passed into law as an act of parliament, will prohibit all MPs from receiving pensions. All MPs, past and present, will be bound by the provisions of this act. In January last year, total pension compensation granted to retired MPs was 3,446,186 rupees and 91 cents. Some might say that this amount is comparatively low. I don't argue with such comments. The government maintains that we have no ethical right to obtain such compensation until the country recovers completely.
අපි මේ පනත ගෙනල්ලා මේක අහෝස් කරලා දාන්න.
අපි ඍජුවම මේ අවස්ථාව එකක් කියන්න කැමතියි.
I will say this directly. We believe that the members of the parliament must be entitled to a pension. We strongly stand by this position. In democratic countries, pensions are provided to public representatives for one key reason: to prevent fraud and corruption. Such a system provides policymakers with social protection after the conclusion of their parliamentary tenure.
සම්පාදකීන්ට ලබාද.
ගරු විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා කිව්වා මේ අල්ලත දූෂණය වංචාව නැති කරන්න.
The opposition leader says that pensions are provided to parliamentarians to prevent fraud and corruption. Did you observe how former parliamentarians who received pensions put an end to fraud and corruption? The general public is well aware how those former parliamentarians received their pensions and watched the country fall into bankruptcy rather than contributing to end corruption.
ක්‍රිස්තියදිලා තියෙන ආකාරය
මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට බෝම්බ ගැහුවේ 1988.
The JVP bombed this parliament in 1988, killing then MP Kirti Chandrasiri Abevikrama Moravaka. His wife Yapa Abevikrama Moravaka still claims pension payments. 7 JVP MPs claimed parliamentary pension from time to time. We have no idea how that money was spent. I don't know if the money was credited to the JVP's bank account. There are some impoverished MPs who can't even afford medicine priced at around 60,000 rupees. Has anyone else sacrificed more for the country than the Bandaranayakas? You enjoy free education because of them. The Prime Minister received free education because of them. MP Diljai Vira hailed from remote Sri Lanka. However, free education paved the way for him to become an attorney at law and created Derana Media Network. The Minister of Justice was able to enroll himself as an attorney because of the Bandaranayakas.
අධිකරණ ඇමති නීතිඥයෙක් වුණේ කවුරු හින්දාද? බණ්ඩාරනායකලා හින්දා.
පළමුව කියන්නට ඕන. ජාතික ජන බලවේගය මේ යෝජනාව ගෙන එන්නේ අතිශය දුෂ්ට චේතනාවෙන්.
At the outset, we must understand that the NPP tables this bill with malicious intentions. Many have left the party since they are provided no support by the party infrastructure. Since they are outsiders at the moment, they have no means of subsistence. They who reap the benefits of the original act now seek to repeal it. They say they are advocates of the proletariat. However, this bill only guarantees the demise of the proletariat class. We respect NP Nihal Galapati, however, he spoke against his conscience. He is aware that his friend, former MP Prem Srimanage, only receives 62,000 rupees as his pension payment. He cannot afford medicine. He can't afford food. He served his party and left with dignity. However, he received no support from the party. This proposal is driven by malicious intentions to punish people like former MP Manage. This bill is not geared towards a national objective. Former MP Manage credits 6.7 million of his salary to the party. He could have saved that money and deposited it in a fixed account.
අද මේ මනුස්සයට ෆික්ස් ඩිපොසිට් එකක් දාලා මේක ඉන්න තිබුණා.
රටේ රාජ්‍ය තන්ත්‍රයට ගරුත්වය ගේන වැඩක් මේ කරන්නේ. පලිගැනීමක් කොහෙ හිතලවත් නේ අපිට
This initiative intends makes politics honorable. It is not stained by malicious intentions. Why would we harbor such intentions towards present and former party members? Leaving our party is an act of self-sabotage. They themselves destroy their dignity, goodwill and public acclaim. The pension is nothing compared to the loss of public acclaim. They know this to be true deep in their hearts. The assassination of the attorney will not be tolerated. Nobody should be allowed to meet such a fate. However, it is also true that the situation is being fabricated into a national security concern. If indeed Sri Lanka is mad by such a national security threat, will the ICC hold its matches in the country? These cricketers are insured at exorbitant premiums. They wouldn't charter private jets and travel to Sri Lanka if national security was under threat. They wouldn't book hotels and hospital wards costing upwards of $1,000 a night if there were such threats. The ICC's confidence bolsters the trust placed in Sri Lanka's national security.
ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව පිළිබඳ දහස් වතාවක් දෙන සහතිකය තමයි ලංකාවේ මැච් එක ගහපු එක.
Welcome back. Now in your business news, Sri Lanka and Japan yesterday formalized collaboration on economic policy during the Sri Lanka-Japan Intergovernmental Economic Policy Dialogue. A new framework for economic development was formalized through a memorandum of cooperation signed yesterday at the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Representatives of both countries expressed confidence that the memorandum of cooperation and policy dialogue would usher Sri Lanka-Japan economic cooperation and long-standing friendship into a new era. The Colombo Bourse closed in negative today as a result of price losses in counters such as CT Holdings, Pan Asia Banking Corporation and Diesel and Motor Engineering. The benchmark ASPI lost 0.07% to close at 22,882.82, while the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 decreased by 0.02% to end the day at 6,708.71. Market turnover was 4.23 billion rupees. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers, offloading shares worth 42 million rupees. With that, here's a look at today's exchange rates. That's all for tonight from First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.